about the MCSL summit in Boston, which was very interesting. And maybe we'll leave that towards the end.
Excuse me, I didn't have my mic on. We're delighted today to have with us Gareth Hargan. If I pronounce it wrong, sir, I apologize. Deputy Consul General for the Consul General Ireland of New York City. We welcome you and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us, and we'd love to hear from you and have some opening remarks from you. Thank you. Gareth?
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here and joining you. I know it's taken a while between back and forth and trying to get a time, but as I'm actually finishing up posting next week, so it really is a real honor for me to get this chance before I leave to speak to you a little bit. And I know that my successor, who I have introduced by email to a number of people on the commission, she's obviously very excited to take the commission and its work forward. And I will share her details with the wider commission once she takes up posting here. I don't know if you have, according to the agenda, did you have me on? Loretto, did you have me on afterwards, or when did you want?
Well, I think hi Gareth, how are you? So I think just for expediency's sake, to let the speakers go first, I'll give a very quick update, a summary of what the NCSL summit was like in Boston. It's very, very brief, but just to let you get on with your day and the other speakers to get on with their day, we'll let you go ahead if everybody's okay with that.
After you give your update on the NSL or beforehand? Just
before. You go first.
Oh, that's no problem. Great. Well, thank you again for letting me join you today. I was just looking over the motto of Connecticut. It's qui transtulit sustinet, and that translates that translates basically as being transplanted. And when I think of the people it was initially supposed to be talking about, they may have been the original settlers, but I think it very equally and appropriately relates to the Irish settlers who have contributed so much to Connecticut from the very beginning of the state and indeed beforehand. More generally, what the Trade Commission for me and for the Consul represents, it definitely represents an excellent platform and a vehicle for trying to achieve a lot of our shared objectives, whether it be economic, trade, financial, educational, cultural, people-to-people links. And I think it is, as I said, a very good platform with people who have a real appreciation, people who are on the Trade Commission, people who are in membership of the Commission. They have a real appreciation for what the relationship represents between Connecticut and Ireland, but also more widely between Ireland and the US. And the trade is such a significant part of this. Notwithstanding the importance of trade, when I look at the wider relationship between Connecticut and Ireland, I'm quite heartened to see the wide variety of Irish studies programs that are available throughout universities in Connecticut, whether that be at Fairfield University, Sacred Heart University, UConn, or indeed, as Christine Keneally Professor will know, at Quinnipiac as well. So I think that that's one of the very important stepping stones which will allow us to increase that engagement. Because when I speak to people and they ask me, how do you maintain the momentum and the dynamism in a relationship between a country and a country, or a state and a country? And my first answer is always education, because those educational links, if you get people involved in that relationship, knowing more about a country, knowing more about each other at that university, at that academic stage, those people will then go on in their careers with a greater understanding, a greater appreciation of Ireland. So you have somebody who does Irish studies as part of a minor in Quinnipiac University. They're going to bring that appreciation, knowledge, and awareness of Ireland into their professional career. They're going to continue to make connections. So it's at that embryonic stage, I think, that it's one of the easiest ways for us to continue to build that relationship. More widely, I'm sure a lot of you will know the strong links already between Connecticut and Ireland, but more widely just on the US-Ireland trading relationship. As you'll all appreciate, we enjoy a significant and mutually beneficial economic relationship, and the US is Ireland's, not unsurprisingly, largest trading and investment partner. The value of this overall economic relationship exceeds €1 trillion. But it isn't just one way. The economic benefits flow both ways in this relationship, and these links create prosperity and jobs for large numbers of people on both sides of the Atlantic, both in the US and in Ireland. And as you may also be aware, more than 200,000 people are employed directly by 781 Irish companies across all 50 states, including Connecticut. And Ireland now is the 5th largest source of foreign direct investment into the US, with investment by Irish companies valued at over $390 billion. And Irish investment saw great growth in the US in 2024 with over a 20% increase. And this, just to put this in context, as a country with just over 5 million people, this places Ireland as the 2nd largest EU source of foreign direct investment in the US after only Germany, which is over 60 million. So it really shows that strength of the trading relationship. Many Irish companies also are major customers of US manufacturers. For example, Irish aviation companies such as are Boeing's biggest customer, with more than 900 planes worth more than $120 billion. Just to really show that relationship, and that it is growing. The companies that are existing with operations in Connecticut that are Irish include Medtronic, Nuritas, Bank of Ireland, of course, Lind, Accenture, Johnson Controls, and Talem Biotech. And those are just the big ticket names. I know that the Irish Connecticut Business Council has hundreds of members who are companies both in Connecticut and in Ireland, making those links, continuing that trade. And I think from an Irish point of view, while it's important to have the big companies there and to have a really strong presence, coming from a sole trader, small business background myself, when I was very young, I'm heartened to see the amount of SMEs, small and medium enterprises, who are engaging in Connecticut and also in Ireland, because, as you'll know, SMEs provide disproportionately more employment vis-a-vis their size. So getting them on the ground and giving them a greater platform in Connecticut or in Ireland, it really is very important. And when we talk about that two-way link and the trade, we could get back to the practicalities. How do they get there? So we now have, for a number of years now, the Hartford-Dublin Aer Lingus link. And I know that in 2023, we had over nearly 22,000 visitors, Connecticut visitors to Ireland. Less for Irish visitors to Connecticut, but we see it with the trends. We see it growing every year. And with this Hartford link, it will definitely attract more people. More people to Connecticut. Specifically on Connecticut, from speaking to our colleagues in the state agencies with responsibility for trade, we saw Connecticut goods exports to Ireland in 2024 amount to over $84 million. And while that may seem like a small amount, it is a growing amount. Connecticut services then exports to Ireland in 2024 amount to over $470 million. But again, when we look past the figures, we have to look at the actual trend and the upward trajectory. When we talk about Ireland and Connecticut, when we move from the general US-Ireland relationship to the specific, we can see that Ireland-Connecticut economic relationship mirrors that of the very healthy state of our country-to-country relationship. We have similar-sized populations, a long history of cultural and economic ties, and we've also a strong history of research and development and investment in that critical area. We also have globally recognized financial services sectors, life science sectors, and indeed medtech sectors. So I do think there's definitely much that can be achieved in these strong sectors and the shared strengths and competencies in them. I think basically it's when we look at where we are, I think we're in a good place. I think the Trade Commission is as I said, an excellent platform. But again, it's all about the momentum. It's all about keeping the activity moving forward, so there isn't a lull. And when I look down through the illustrious names on the Trade Commission, I feel confident that's definitely going to happen. What I would want to do at a later stage as well, and I know from looking at their documentation that you do have contact details for a number of the agencies, but it will be interesting and I think very useful to have the contacts at the working level on the East Coast as well, because oftentimes it's the working level relationships and activities that actually keep the dynamism going. So with that, I will yield the floor.
Well, thank you very much for your words. Are there questions from the membership?
Yes.
Sure, Alex.
Yes, Deputy Consul General, thank you for coming today and speaking to us. I had one question about, you mentioned the Irish studies programs at universities in Connecticut and how well that relationship has been. And I just wanted to know if there's anything that you think can be done better, or if things that are done in other states in your purview that maybe is not done in Connecticut. That's my question. Yep.
No, and thank you for raising the education, because it is an area dear to my heart. And any mission that I've worked in before, as I worked in the embassy in Abu Dhabi, in Korea, in China, and now in New York, and I've always found that is one of the key, what would I call it, the key ins for us, the key kind of access points. And again, it's important to not let these relationships and these Irish studies programs go into abeyance, because that sometimes happens when a relationship is set up and there's a big fanfare, and that's excellent. How do you keep the motor running? That's the important thing. So 5 years down the line, is it still a going concern? Is it still of benefit to both countries, to both states and countries? While there's the Irish studies programs aspect of it, another element are the relationships between the individual universities. So a number of the universities, and I don't have the exact list, because the list is quite expansive in the US in terms of relationships between individual universities, but that's a very important thing, because what happens then is, as well as the Irish studies programs where people get kind of a broad overview of Irish culture, Irish language, Irish politics, Irish history, the kind of joint programs means that you have people going over to Irish universities from Connecticut and vice versa to do 2-in-1, 3-in-1, 1-2-1 formations of degrees, like joint degrees, and that can help again for, in terms of the Trade Commission, but also for relations between academic institutions. And when I go back as well to somebody does a joint degree in a Connecticut Irish university, when they will invariably go on to a professional life, they'll bring that with them, and it becomes in a way, I've seen this in other missions I've worked in, it becomes in a way a ready-made alumni network that then institutions and organizations like the Trade Commission can then delve into and feed into, and people get to a junior management level, a mid-management level, a senior management level, and they keep that connection between Connecticut and Ireland with them.
Could I maybe add to that? Hi. So I've just come back from Ireland. So I work at Quinnipiac University, and every spring semester we send approximately 60 students to Cork University, and they spend a whole semester there. We send students to Trinity just for a few weeks, but they are lifelong connections. Those students often bring their parents, they form relationships, bonds with people in Ireland, and they go back. But I've just returned from Ireland Sunday night. I was there with a different programme, CIEE, and they were established after the Second World War. They sent students to Ireland from different universities, but they're an actual model of human rights, because the scholars who went actually went as interns for 8 weeks, and they're called Frederick Douglass Daniel O'Connell Global Fellows. And of course they went to Belfast, saw the statue of Frederick Douglass, etc. But I think they are models for what we could do more extensively within Connecticut and elsewhere. So I think internships might be a really good way to think of sending students to Ireland, and sending students from different universities, colleges, community colleges. I think that's a real growth area, who spend time in Ireland and form all those relationships you talked about.
Thank you. Any other commissioners with questions at this point? The Deputy Consul General. If not, I have a question, sir. You mentioned the working level on the East Coast of different relationships. Could you just give us a couple of simple examples of what those entities might be? Thank you.
More than happy to. We have a format we use across the world, and it's proved quite successful, and other countries do as well. We didn't come up with this, but it seems to work for us as a small country, to kind of play to our strengths and have that strength in numbers mentality. We have a Team Ireland entity which works in our different states of accreditation. So in New York, for instance, we just moved from our old residence on 345 Park Avenue to a brand spanking new new premises at MetLife Building 200 Park, just on top of Grand Central Station. And what we have here is we have Board BIA, which is the Irish Food Promotion Agency. We have Enterprise Ireland, which is the trade promotion agency for Irish companies coming in and introducing themselves to the US market. We have IDA Ireland, which is the Foreign Direct Investment Promotion Agency. They would promote US investment into Ireland their states of accreditation, which is basically the whole East Coast. Then we have Tourism Ireland, who promote inward tourism into Ireland, and they cover the whole of the US with an office in San Francisco. We also have CIE Tours, who are predominantly based in Morristown, New Jersey, but they also have a small office here, and they promote tours basically to Ireland, Britain, and some other close countries. But what we found is that, so somebody comes to me and says, I want to know about Irish tourism. I don't say to them, oh, please go to this website, or please, ring this free phone number. I say, I'll put you in contact with somebody in Tourism Ireland, and you can take that conversation forward, because there's 75 of us here in Ireland House, and I'm just after coming from a joint coffee morning just prior to this Zoom meeting, where all the agencies got together, we talked together, we see where can we work together, where can we collaborate, what's coming up on the horizon for you. And it's a kind of a more formalized version of the water cooler effect, where you get colleagues talking together and things don't get missed then, and opportunities to collaborate together. When somebody wants to know something, whether it's on the diplomatic side or on the various trade sides, we're always talking together. So we're always being able to capitalize on those opportunities. And I would also like to just make a point there, as I see we have Antusal, Martin and Will are there. We also have very strong relations with our Invest Northern Ireland and Northern Ireland Bureau colleagues here on the East Coast, and we work closely with them, whether it's on trade, whether it's on entrepreneurship, whether it's on women in business, or whether it's on education. And I've had the honour and the privilege to be at a number of events that Queen's University Belfast have hosted in the city, and also on trade. As you know, something like Irish whiskey is an all of Ireland affair. So any whiskey created or distilled on the island of Ireland is a geographical indicator protected product by the European Union, no matter whether it's in Northern Ireland or in Ireland. And as I mentioned, the Tourism Ireland agency we have here, that's actually an all of Ireland body. So they promote tourism, whether it's in the Giant's Causeway, whether it's in Belfast, whether it's in Tyrone, or whether it's in Cork, Galway, Dublin. So.
Well, thank you. And we look forward to establishing some sort of relationship and discussions with those entities within your council. I'll ask, or I'll send you an email afterwards, and make sure that we get contact information and possibility of having those entities speak before the commission as well. Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners at this point now? Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Consul General, for your time, and we'd love for you to stay with us as the commission meeting continues. At this point, I'd like to introduce our next speakers. They are Marcino Muir from the Northern Ireland Growth Fund, and Colin Walsh, CEO of Crescent Capital, who I believe administers the Northern Ireland Growth Fund, and they have a presentation for us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Chairman Riley, thank you. And Patricia, feel free to kick out my note taker there, my author note taker, which I have no control over. Thank you, Chairman. I've great love for Connecticut. I have a great connection with Quinnipiac University, and Quinnipiac's very dear to us because it's the base of Professor Keneally, who has done absolutely wonderful work on the Great Hunger across the island here, and done revelatory work on the time that Frederick Douglass spent here in Belfast. And we're very proud to be the only city in Europe with a statue of Frederick Douglass, and that's due to the work of Professor Keneally. Also delighted that our friend Colin O'Neill is part of the commission, and I see Senator Chris Dodd as a member as well. And that really brings us to why we're here today, because the work of Chris Dodd and others give us the peace process, changed all our lives absolutely and completely. My children grew up in peaceful times and had equal opportunity, had streets which were without a military presence because of the work that Irish America did. So it's no exaggeration to say that if it hadn't been for the work of Irish Americans, convincing the Irish America, the American government to engage, thousands of lives would have been lost, and we could very well still be at a very bloody impasse in this country. So that's the first very important point, which you should remember. I don't think you need to remind everyone of it, but it's absolutely true and is the bedrock of the peace we enjoy today and the shared society here in Northern Ireland. Number two, then, how do you sustain that peace? And for me, better than any social programme is a job. And we create jobs through investment. Governments, of course, play a vital part in that, but generally it takes entrepreneurs, our funds, our foreign direct investment to make transformative investments. And in the city of Belfast, we're very fortunate to have major blue chip American companies here in the city. So Citigroup employs 4,500 people in Belfast. Allstate of Chicago employs 2,000. Liberty of Boston employs around 500. Boeing now employs people in our large aircraft manufacturer. And those American companies have helped to embed the peace. How then can ordinary people in the state of Connecticut in New York and in New Jersey. How can they play a part in this? Because many people say, well, I'm not a large corporation and I don't have the money to make an investment. But of course, Tom DiNapoli, the controller of New York, showed us how ordinary citizens can play a part in building the peace, because he set aside pension funds, funds from the New York Retirees Fund. He set aside $103 million, a very significant amount, to invest in early stage companies here in the north of Ireland. And he's been doing that tirelessly now for over 10 years. Colin has handled some of his funds and invested them successfully for the New York state controller. And he says that he's doing good while doing well. It's a win-win. So our appeal today to the Trade Commission, and we believe the trade commissions that Senator Daly played a pivotal role in establishing, we believe they're the most consequential development in Irish America in 2 decades. And they have the opportunity to deliver real game-changing initiatives in the time ahead. And one of those is exploring, just exploring, not committing, exploring how Tom DiNapoli took the path he did and successfully invested pension funds. And our pension funds are very, very precious to us. He invested the pension funds of New York State's public workers to make real change in Ireland and here in the north of Ireland. And of course, he didn't have the money to make the entire investment, but where New York invests a little bit, then other people come in. And there's a list of companies, one very close to here, which went public, and/or digital cameras, that New York made a pivotal investment. And so that's what we're here to ask. I'm going to give Colin 60 seconds to explain the mechanics of that. I'm reasonably agnostic on how you invest. We'd love you invest through the North Ireland Growth Fund. But the key thing is for Connecticut to find a way to follow the path of your neighbour in New York to invest in creating a prosperous and bright future here. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin.
I'll just give the highlights then, folks, and thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today. It's a £100 million development capital fund. It would be run out of Belfast using the Crescent resources and the Crescent team, and relying on the Crescent networks and the wider collective of introducers and advisors and professionals that we've cultivated over 30 years. The target area is the northern half of the island. So it's the 6 counties of Northern Ireland and the 6 counties that, as we would say in Ireland, lie into the border on the southern side. So that's Donegal, Cavan, Monaghan, Leitrim, Louth and Sligo. There's a population there of coming up on £2.5 million in that area. 2.5 million people, sorry, not pounds. I'm going to say I'm too commercial. 2.5 million people, about 1.9 in the north and just over 500,000 in those other border counties. And that's an area that I think Gareth will know that there's been quite a lot of investment has come into Dublin and managed out of Dublin, but the further you go out from Dublin, the less money percolates out to those outposts. And the border region in Northern Ireland is not a region that has seen an awful lot of investment. But what investment we have seen, as Martin has pointed out, has made significant economic impact. We invested in 38 different businesses across the 3 funds that we've run already. We've made returns for those investors, and we've created over 2,000 jobs across those 3 funds in the 38 businesses within those companies, and probably the same again in the wider community that are suppliers to those businesses. So my background is that I've been in venture capital for over 30 years now. There's been a few IPOs, there's been a few good trade sales. As in early stage investing, there is also some catastrophes, but you learn from that, and you look at those scars in the mirror each day, and you do better the next day for it. We've had investment before, as Martin said, from not only from the New York State Common Retirement Fund, but your neighbours to the north, from Middlesex County, from Haverhill County. They were investors in Fund 1. Lowell County got as far as making the commitment, but got squeezed out at the end. We'd already filled the quota. So the economic impact lifts all the boats. It's the key to everything, and that's what I do for my business day to day. Love doing that. Would love to do that for Connecticut as well. I'll leave that right there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say you're very fortunate to have the consulate team in New York as your partner, because the work that the Deputy Consul General does and his boss, Consul General Helena Nolan, who's leaving now, it's absolutely formidable. They are really economic and diplomatic hubs who get things done. So you've a great partner there, and we're always happy to be even on the margins of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Are there questions from the commission? Oh, sorry, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman. Couple of quick questions. Number one, probably most importantly, in the businesses, are there guidelines on what type of businesses you invest in? For example, do the workforce have to be religiously integrated, representing both the nationalist and the unionist community? Are there other guidelines that have to do with employment and training with the businesses you deal with? Or what are the general parameters and when you make a decision on who to invest in?
Thank you for that question. So there's legislation in the north of Ireland and also in the south that prohibits employment on religious grounds, and that's been enacted for, I don't know, decades now, like 20, 30 years now since the McBride Principles. So that has become, apart from a few places in Northern Ireland where they've had a long established workforce and it was very skewed one way or the other, and it's kind of difficult to rebalance. But in our case, we only want to invest in businesses where there's completely open and equal opportunity. We also are leaning towards businesses that would welcome a trade union participation as well. In the past,
I'm a trade unionist, so that's good to know.
Okay, thank you. In the past, because we had some of the capital came from the Development Agency in Northern Ireland, originally the Industrial Development Board, and latterly the Invest NI that Gareth mentioned earlier. They were overseeing to make sure that we applied those principles, that we went after the best opportunities that were available. Now they were particularly focused, this to the last point of your question, they were particularly focused towards manufacturing and exporting businesses. We're putting the remit a little wider in this fund to include, particularly for the benefit of the border areas, businesses that would be, say, in leisure and hospitality, hotels, and that where there's opportunities for employment and to really promote those areas, which aren't the areas in the country where there's the most dense manufacturing heritage. So we're going after the opportunities that actually present in the economy and would make an economic impact today.
Second question, well, an aside, and then second question. 5 more golf courses along the border would be very nice. As far as my second question, you've got a member of this commission who's a big proponent of the fund, Colin O'Neill, who's here. But have you been in touch with our state treasurer or any of the folks in the state of Connecticut who are in charge in making our investments at this point?
We've exchanged some emails, but we haven't secured a meeting yet. So that's where we are, and we'd be keen to do that. Colin visits America, the East Coast, several times a year. I'm there many times a year, and we'd love to do that. We've invited them to some events in New York, but I understand people with responsibilities in Connecticut don't want to go to New York to find out what's happening, but would be delighted to do that. It's important to add that Controller DiNapoli, who speaks at an event we organize in New York every June, says that his returns from his investments here in the north of Ireland are in the top 10% percentile globally. he's done tremendously well here. So yeah, we'd be delighted to share the information and to meet with the key people if we can find out who is the lever to explore these opportunities.
Well, a Hartford politician going to New York is tougher than a Dublin politician going to Ulster, and I can assure you that. Anyway, thank you very much. And I'm sure the commission would be interested in helping to facilitate meetings with the state treasurer.
Thank you. Commissioner LaShane has a question.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. What's the level of private investment in the same target communities that we're talking about right now for state investment?
Do you mean that we would seek alongside ourselves co-investing?
I guess it could be that, or I'm just thinking, is there a robust private investment initiative going on in Northern Ireland, or are you focused more on governmental or entities such like that?
Yeah, there are no commercial investing institutions with an office anywhere in any of those border counties, and within Northern Ireland only in Belfast. So there has been a growth in recent years of what you would know as angel investing, which is helping some small businesses get off the ground. But it's investing at a micro level. You know, you're unlikely to generate hotels or golf courses or manufacturing businesses or substantial leisure businesses, trading businesses with only angel investment. So typically, in the kind of investments that we were doing in our most recent fund in the north, where we would have invested anything between about £500,000 and £1 million, £1 million and 1.1, 1.2. It was a £30 million fund, so there was sensible limits on what you would do in each company. We would see angel investors coming in alongside that. There are some measures that the UK government introduced that apply in Northern Ireland, and in Ireland there are similar, where angel investors can get a tax break on the monies that they put into early stage companies. They can get a relief on their returns of 30%, sometimes up to 50% of investments that they make. But the levels of investment in those counties in the northern half of Ireland are still chronically low, and there's an awful lot of opportunity that it goes unfunded.
Colin has a question.
Yes. Could you expand on, you briefly mentioned the New Belfast Investment Conference that you have every June, and give an overall indication of the nature of the economic environment in Belfast?
Well, thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. Yeah, I think that what we have seen over the last 25 years is a transformation of the economy of Belfast, of Northern Ireland, certainly in the Belfast region, which is where the majority of the large foreign direct investment went. We have two very strong universities turning out 3,000-4,000 graduates each year in technology or business linked fields. We have a very strong city centre technology cluster. We have at least two world-class clusters, which are accelerators in east of the city and in the city centre. And we have I think a robust and a buoyant local investment scene, but it's small. It's small. So we are seeing a shift in government towards supporting indigenous entrepreneurs, and that has made a difference. And we have when we did to establish the first unicorns, billion dollar valued companies in recent times, and this year we brought two of those to Belfast, actually three. One is making cancer imaging equipment. Another one is making body cam equipment with software. But the third is building in Belfast, down in the shipyard, which has been vacant for many, many years, He's building ships again, which are battery-powered marine vessels for ferries and for example, for police services. That company's called Artemis, and that has grown with investment from governments and from funds to 200 employees, and it has the ability to be the potentially be the biggest employer in the north of Ireland today. So that's we're very keen that we show off and showcase the pioneering business, the trailblazing businesses that are here. But we could do so much more if we had other states following the lead of Tom DiNapoli, not just because of the funds you would release, because that confidence it gives other international investors.
Thank you. And one more question from Commissioner Dunleavy.
Two-part question. First, obviously, this is oriented towards Belfast. Are there similar efforts, or is this fund investing in some of the other cities and areas that have been economically depressed, like Derry, Enniskillen, South Armagh? And secondly, you mentioned high tech and manufacturing. How about agribusiness? Is there much being done in terms of agriculture and agribusiness?
I'll take that one. Well, while our office is based in Belfast, we're not Belfast centric in terms of the investment focus. Crescent over the last 30 years has invested in every single county. I'm managing an investment in Derry, which is in a business called Modern Democracy, which is seeking to improve the way election processes are managed. And the entrepreneurs that we invested in there previously had grown and sold an earlier business that actually was an early effort at electronic voting. So that's possibly something that is into the remit of what some of you guys would understand. I have invested again with Crescent in timber processing businesses down in Enniskillen in a business called Belfast, very largest timber processing in the northern half of the island that employed hundreds of people down there. I have been previously invested again in Fund 1 in agri-technology business that made products that were for dealing with sheep dips and various horrible diseases in calves and all sorts of farm animals. So we span the spectrum. We're not exclusively technology focused at all. We will invest in viable. I love companies that make things, and even today in Fund 3, we're still invested in. There's a very good little business out in Lisburn, which I have to bring you to see, which makes equipment for the water industry, which measures concentrates of pollutants and nitrates and all sorts of other nasties in waters. So we're sort of agnostic about that. What we want to do is back sensible people that are going to they're going to create employment, they're going to create wealth, they're going to create jobs, exports, and generally lift the economy in their area, while we make money at the same time to return to the pension funds and the privateers that invest in the fund.
Thank you.
I have one quick question, if I may, and I guess it pertains mostly for Gareth, but also for Martine and Colin. Maybe you can answer this. A lot of people that are in the drinks industry over here, the bars and the Irish bars and the restaurants, they're concerned about, I think there's confusion. Gareth, you had mentioned earlier that whiskey is Penn Island, but would the tariffs be different coming in from the North and the Republic? Apparently, is there a 10% in the North for, let's say, Bushmills and 15% for Jameson? Is that accurate?
This is as they say, the devil's in the details. This is still being worked out at working level in relation to the individual ones. But as it stands, it is that. But there are discussions being had on possible zero for zero arrangements. And that's where it stands. But I'll leave it to Marcin on the other side. But I understand that as part of the overall UK US deal, it is 10% on that particular sector.
Yeah, I mean,
again, go ahead. No, Marcin, you go ahead.
Whatever way the ball falls, we are going to be depending on our relationships with our friends in America to get us through this period of tumult and turmoil and different tariff every month. But at this stage, 10% in Bushmills and 15% in Jameson's, and that's for all the smaller craft distilleries as well. So it is changing the businesses of many people. But it's really vitally important that one of the roles of the Trade Commission, I'm sure, will be to try and pour oil in troubled waters and make sure that we all get through this period and continue to build these mutually beneficial trading links. Thank you. I'll relay those messages to the people who have spoken to me. Thank you.
What I would say, Loretta, just to follow on from that, because it's a real area of interest for me, and I followed it closely over multiple postings. What we're offering, we're in a very good place, because what we're offering, we're not offering what they call the industry bottom shelf. We're offering very high quality premium level products. And I know from talking to my colleagues in Board BIA, what they offer to the different liquor commissions in different states which they've been engaged with has been that kind of ultra premium level. That's what they're saying to the small boutique distilleries at home in Ireland is the bottom shelf and middle shelf is saturated with a lot of big brands, and the margins are so tight on that, it's very hard to get a foothold in those areas. Whereas you have ultra high premium products, the price elasticity for those products is going to be less sensitive for the kind of consumers that we are targeting. That kind of top shelf ABC1 consumer who is going to be less sensitive to a relatively small increase in price vis-a-vis the cost of the product.
Could I just, before we leave, and thank you for you're so generous with your time. If it worked and you had a next year and you wanted us to bring some people up when we're out to talk to you, some people are involved in entrepreneurship or business. We also have an all-island angel hub for investment for women only called Awaken Angel. We'd be delighted to, if the trains are still working, we'd be delighted to take a run up to Hartford or up to Connecticut and see our friends there and keep this introduction going so you can see us in real life. We're not bots, we're not AI bots, but we'd really love to do that. So keep us informed of the dates, and we'd be delighted to call up and say hello and introduce you to some of the people who are really making change here. Thank you.
And just to add to that, if there's an opportunity to present to the pension fund people in Connecticut, I'll be on the plane tomorrow and there the next day to do that. And I was trying to think about the connections that we had from the portfolio companies to Connecticut. And I'm pretty sure that company Andor that we mentioned, which was a Fund 1 investment, it was a university spin out that we backed when there was just a couple of dozen people in the back of the university, and it grew to a very substantial employer of about 400. The North American office of that was in Hartford, and we sold out to universities all around the US who wanted cameras to see better in low light conditions, where researchers were looking at things. So that they made the kind of cameras you'd put on the end of a microscope, and without bombarding the samples with too much light, you could see living tissues and living plant life and so forth, and actually see what was going on in the cells, as opposed to what you could see with an electron microscope, which was around in my day in school, where you bombarded the sample to death with electrons. You could only look at the afterlife of what was on the plate. So there, I don't know if they still, I'm off that board now, but I don't know if they still have their office in Connecticut, but I'll be checking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Shane has a question as well.
Yeah, it's mostly a request. It would be terrific if we could get a look-see of your presentation deck and your intro packet that talks a little bit more in detail about those companies either you've invested in or the structure of your organization, things like that. I think that would be maybe our first step in moving forward.
Yeah, I can easily do that. We have a full information memorandum, which I was just looking. We last updated it last year, so I'll freshen that and I'll gather some emails through Marcin and hopefully Patricia here, and we'll send that on to you with the deck, and you can see everything that it's everything that we've invested in is in there at the back of that at the back of that document.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions from the commissioners? Anybody online that has a question? Not seeing any. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you both, or all three of you actually, Gareth, Marcin, and Colin, for your time and for your presentations that have been pretty extensive and have given us a good direction of where to go and what we can continue to discuss as far as commission members. We just are delighted with the ability that you have used the New York Pension Fund to invest in such great and critical enterprises in Ireland and in the North as well. You should be commended for having such a vision to be able to develop a program and having the wherewithal that the New York State Legislature also stepped forward and made their investment properly with your volition. So thank you very much for your time. And we look forward to continuing our discussions with you and our relationship growing for the mutual benefit, both ourselves, the commission, and your company as well. So thank you very much. And thank you to Gareth, and the Consulate General in New York City as well. We will move on to our continuation of discussions from previous meetings. Any topics that would like to be discussed amongst the commissioners, any future topics that someone would like to pose as well. If there are any questions or any statements that people would like to make as far as anything going forward for our next meeting, which I can announce quickly, would probably be Tuesday, September 9th here at the Legislative Office Building. Commissioner LaShade.
The talking one here today. When we were in Boston, one of the things, there were three of us there that talked a little bit about is potentially considering, and Loretto helped me on this one, a kind of a subcommittee so that, as we're gathering information, we can start funneling it. I think what we, and Representative O'Day was with us, and I think what we heard is that we're behind the 8 ball. Like really behind the 8 ball, even though, our legislation was there are folks that are like, it's a sprint for them. And there's even more now because there are up to 27 commissions out there. There are some talk about competition for other foreign entities to set up trade commissions, somewhat replicating the one for Ireland. And at least my personal thought is, if we don't really start moving the ball down the field, a lot of the opportunities that may be layups today would become very competitive down the future. I think it was, and I don't know, Loretto, if I can remember, it was West Virginia has a gigantic education program up and running, not just the foreign student exchange program, but intellectual property exchange and investment and sharing of research. So that would just be something I'd like to put on the table to kind of get us thinking about how we can, not move forward the whole ship, but pieces of the ship.
Certainly. Would you have a suggestion or what type of a subcommittee you might want to start with? I mean, these are discussions we can certainly have afterwards or offline.
I could think of 1,000, Mr. Chairman. I think, it's kind of maybe the topics. I know Senator Daley had given us the list of like 6 initiatives, and maybe that would be a good agenda item to think about how we could frame 1 or 2 of those and then seek out, people that would want to serve on those committees under, you and Loretta's supervision.
Sure.
I'm just making that up right now.
Well, I think that the top one, and we certainly have a more than qualified person on our committee here. The top one that seems to be coming across is education, and I think Dr. Christine Keneally can certainly help us with that. The Irish studies, that's a huge one, Dr. Keneally, and you obviously know that very, very well. That sounds like a very successful program with Cork University, 60 students per year.
Oh yeah, every spring semester.
That's
And
fantastic.
before COVID, it was 80. So each year there'd be a lottery. It was so popular.
Wow.
So yeah.
So that's the first one that would come to my mind. I think that would be a great one to start with, and if Dr. Keneally would like to think more on it, yeah, that would be wonderful. And of course, trade. I mean, again, the drinks industry is to me is interesting because it's liquor stores, it's bars, it's restaurants. So just that the tariffs right now are very confusing with regards to that, and a lot of people are coming to me with questions. So it's not my wheelhouse, to be very, very honest with you. I can take questions from people, but if there's somebody else more qualified on the commission that wants to, head that subcommittee, please feel free to do so.
Certainly, I concur with your comments that education could be one of the top, or would be one of the top subcommittees that we could create. With Professor Keneally, in your former comments or your comments that you made previously, I was interested and delighted that you said the community colleges, because I believe community colleges in the state of Connecticut are growing, and their need to have some sort of a international, or I do believe that they have students traveling overseas, but I think something in Ireland would be great. I think that's something to speak to the community colleges about as well. Commissioner McShane.
Maybe given that direction, some of the names we had put out for presentations, maybe time to reach out to them, like the World Trade Council or the World Affairs Council on the tariffs and trades. I'm sure that Megan would have some expertise herself and others she could bring. And then on education, there's certainly the larger group that the professor may be involved in is CCIC, independent colleges, and then the state equivalent to it to come in and talk about it. And maybe it would be helpful if we were to ask for some examples, almost like the pitch deck for the investment thing, examples of programs that then we could share with the panel. So when they came, we could have a discussion on direction or something more than just desire.
I'm happy to make a presentation at the September or October meeting if you would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly, that would be wonderful. Greatly appreciated, Professor.
Okay.
If I may, along those lines, West Virginia up at the Boston meeting, which I've got some of the pictures up behind us, behind me. West Virginia does a program that they require their incarcerated people to take courses, and they've joined with a company out of Ireland to help with that remote education program, a virtual education program. I don't know. So I was thinking kind of what Patty was talking about. Maybe we have, different committees, those of us that are on various committees, look at possible legislation we could look into to promote for these Irish companies and these joint ventures, if you will.
I believe that company was called Allison. No, I may be Allison. Okay.
Yeah. So I've got to hop to another meeting, but I just wanted to say thank you. And Boston was fantastic.
Thank you, Representative. Greatly appreciated. Commissioners, any other questions? But I believe that is a starting point to develop a subcommittee on education as well as trade. I'll put some notes together and send it out to the membership. And if they have any suggestions or willingness to serve on one of the subcommittees and work on next presenters for the September 12th meeting, if that's appropriate.
A third committee I might suggest is investment.
That is acceptable as well, I assume, with the rest of the commission. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Are there any questions or anything that specifically someone would like to speak about, Commissioner?
I was
Colin.
anticipating getting the update from the Boston meeting that you're
Yes.
going to summary.
Yeah.
I'll do it very quickly. Basically, Deputy Consul Gareth Hargadon covered most of the things that were covered there. The Ireland it was the seventh largest investor or trader with America. I think they said in Boston it was now the fourth. Gareth said the fifth, so maybe it changed since Gareth looked at his notes. The most important takeaway, I think, is that they have events, online events, almost every month, which I will actually write down and share with the Commission. They have a meeting in Ireland every August, and if you're the summit for the Trade Commission members is usually in August. If you're interested in attending the 2026 summit in Dublin, I'll share that email address as well. Okay, but they've been busy, and Paddy Shane is correct. We have a lot of catching up to do, but I think the fact that we're meeting at least once a month and discussing these things and inviting guest speakers is very helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you all. Any other questions or comments from the members? If not, thank you all for attending today's meeting and have a good day. We look forward to see you in September, and thank you for those that gave us their excellent presentations.